Hey, besties. Let's throw some shade, honey. You ready to get into it? It is so clear to me that Nell does not like Tisha. It is very clear that Tisha don't like Nell. You can encourage them to try and talk. You can suggest that they talk. You can force them to talk. They just don't want to talk. There is no resolve. They are coming together to talk about, they're defending their husbands. It was funny to see, y'all. It was funny. But welcome, besties. You are now behind the shade, and thanks for joining me. I recap your favorite reality shows weekly. Now let's kiki and haha and get into another episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, season 10, episode 5, Nail to the No. Besties, how about you rate this week's episode? I will give it, it'll get a 6.5 from me. You let me know. Drop down in the comments and let me know. Please like the video. Besties, why are you not liking the video? You guys are watching, you're viewing. I'm sure you're laughing. Can you please just hit the like button? That's all. I'm not asking you for any money. I'm just asking for a like. And make sure you subscribe to my channel and make sure your notification bell is on so that you know each and every time I post my content. Now, child, Nell goes to visit her son Lance. She wants to check on him. He's juggling being a single dad. And I'm just wondering, like, how is that so? He broke up with his, I think he's married, right? So they separated. He went to move back to his parents' home. She's pregnant, has a baby, so he moves back into the family home. How is he a single dad? Where is this, the mother of the child? Is she at her parents' house? Is she mad at Lance because he filmed with Destiny? Maybe he was lying about getting it together and coming back home and he wasn't. But all of a sudden he has this newborn and everything is on him. He got daddy duties. He owns his own construction company. He's trying to balance that out. And he's very drained because you know a newborn, they wake up every 2 hours, honey. Nell is like, well, if you want me to take on some days for you, you know, you can come over to the house and I'll help you for like 2 days out of the week. And then he's like, well, so she's like, well, check this out. So she suggests, well, I'll come to your house so then the baby don't have to leave and everything. Everything of hers is here and I can help you out at your house for about 2 days. So Lance tells Nell, you know, you need to talk to Fletcher first. And Nell said, excuse me, I've been married to that man for 30 years. If being away for 2 days a week is going to be an issue, then we have bigger problems. And I'm like, you do have bigger problems. Your other son is a very big problem. And the problem is he has a kid too, but maybe he don't need you as much, but he gives spoiled brat. They all do, but maybe he'll have a problem if you help Lance out. And oh, I don't know. But anyway, Nell tells him that, you know, she talked to Destiny, and Destiny told her, well, you could have told me. Told you what? About your new grandbaby. Nell says she's confused by all of this because Nell don't feel like she needed to say anything. And honey, that's one thing Nell gonna do. If it's something going on with her kids, honey, you will not hear it from her. She ain't saying nothing about her children. Okay. And she also said, you know, Destiny supposed to be flirting with her godson and dating Lance at the same time. So she was like, I don't know what's going on. And besties, I'm sitting here, I'll get to it later, it's coming, but is the okay? I'll ask when we get there. Okay, so she asked Lance, "Do you feel like you owe her an explanation?" And he was like, "An explanation? No, but we could definitely, have a sit down, and I could give her the opportunity to ask me questions." But Destiny made it very clear to Lance that they were casually dating. And he said, "But she played in my face a little bit." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And so he was like, "Yeah, she thinks I'm cute. I think she is cute too. We've gone out a few times. It was casual dating." Okay. So Tisha hangs out with Kimmy and Destiny. They meet up at a new boutique in Huntsville. Tisha is complaining to Kimmy that Marceau spends all his time at Black. She said he'll come home, take a shower, and go back to Black. He'll finish his construction job, and then he's headed to Black. I said, "Honey, because that's the married man's dream, honey, honey, honey." He over there playing in your face at Black, playing. So Destiny shows up and she apologizes to Kimmy for not coming to her dinner. Destiny has been MIA-ing because she has been making money on TikTok Live, honey. She is a single mom. She needs to make her money, honey. So Kimmy tells Destiny about Nell saying Letitia isn't transparent. And so when Nell asked Tisha and Kimmy how they felt about Martell's interview, Tisha says Nell needs to tell all the tea about her and Chris and be transparent about that. And it's like, Tisha, shut up. She don't need to do nothing. So then Tisha tells Destiny about Chris saying that Maurice and Marceau gets women to sign NDAs, and Tisha went over to ask Chris about it, and Nell said Tisha was all up in his face, honey, and so she was like, "Was I?" And like, yeah. So Tisha wants people to stop talking about people's marriages and leave the kids out of the conversation too. Destiny is like, "Yeah, you think you wouldn't even have to say that, And so she said, you just can't expect adults to be you. And then she kept, saying some other cute little stuff. And then Tisha says, "Yeah, you also need to have changed behavior, when you apologize or whatever." So Destiny says that she had that same talk with Martell. Child, Tisha says, "That's my cue to go find me a dress." And she walks off. So Destiny is like, "Is this how your energy gonna be every time I mention somebody you don't like in a group?" Kimmy was like, "Yep." So Destiny was like, "Well, how do we move forward?" So Kimmy is like, "What if the tables were turned? And let's say Tisha says, don't hang out with him, Martell, because he really disrespected me. How would that look? Because you're the person in the middle." Destiny is like, "I'm not in the middle. I'm an individual." And she says, "Just, let's keep it real. I met you guys through Martell." And Kimmy was like, "That's true. Not denying that." And she says, "I'm always stuck in the middle of this hard place with him, so I don't speak on him and what he doing." And I was like, "Okay, well, you just brought him up to someone that don't like him, and you know that." And she said, "And I will hold him accountable when it comes to him saying something dumb. And he does that all the time." I was like, "Oh gosh, I thought you just said you wasn't going to speak on him. You're speaking on him." And she said, "And now he's moving forward with coleslaw. And you're speaking on him, Destiny." So then she also mentions Lance. Kimmy said, "Oh, have you talked to him?" Destiny says, "No. Actually, I ran into him and he wouldn't even make eye contact." I was like, "Lance, wow, you going out bad, brother. I thought you said y'all was casually dating. Why can't you just speak and say hi to that girl? Why you just can't have a conversation with Destiny? What's she gonna do? Pinch you?" What's she gonna do? And so she said, he could have said something about having a baby. She said, we are friends, or we were friends. And so she said, yeah. Then after that, he just started moving funny. Yeah, girl, because he's tired. He moving in the middle of the night while you getting sleep with your son. He's up with a crying newborn. So he moving funny because he's sleepy. He moving funny because he is sleep deprived. He is tired. Okay. So Kimmy reminds um yeah, she remembers. She said, "Oh yeah, you know what? Y'all wasn't cool at Nell's vow renewal. I remember it was some tension between you and him. Y'all wasn't all in love." So Destiny feels Kimmy brought up all the googly eye comments from her event at the vow renewal and just put them on blast. And it was like, Kimmy. And so remember at Destiny's, what was her event? I don't know. I guess her Madonna launch. And remember, there was a server. He was handsome, tall, and dark. And so they said, Destiny was flirting with him and batting her eyes and all that. So I'm wondering, which I probably don't think I was going to ask, is he Nell's godson? And I'm guessing not, because he and Nell didn't speak. So yeah, we'll figure out who this godson person is later. So Destiny said she always has googly eyes. She said, you saw him, he was fine, wasn't he? Kimmy was like, yeah, but I wasn't trying to holler, like I was not trying to put the moves on him. And so Kimmy was saying, like, when people say stuff like that about, oh, you was flirting, you got googly eyes, she said, next time you need to shut that stuff down. Like when they say that, you just say, no, that's not what I'm doing. So Destiny gonna say, well, look at here, look at here. I am single, single. And if a man want to take me outside, he can take me outside. But it's like, Destiny, are you single or are you not? Because you are sitting here demanding that Nell tells you something. You are demanding that Lance tells you something. And let this be a lesson to you. They don't owe you anything. You found out anyway. And he's choosing not to talk to you because he's a punk. But he don't feel like he owes you that because you played in his face. And if you are snickling and giggling with his godson, I wouldn't talk to you either. And I would tell my mama and my stepfather, don't bring that girl up to me. Uh-uh. And it's giving like they can actually hook back up and talk again and date again, because they both kind of like saying two things at once. Well, she played in my face, but at the same time, she said we was casually dating. So if you don't be real with your wife or your baby mama, you might have a chance to spin the block, Lance. And Destiny might let you. Uh-huh. So Nell and Tisha catch up and they talk about the moments between Nell and Tisha. Nell says she don't know where Tisha got that big D energy. And she said, oh, she must have got it from Destiny, talking about one of Destiny's products. That was funny, Nell. Nell says she ain't having it. Don't be getting in my husband's face. Tisha keeps coming for Nell, but when Nell returns the energy, Tisha act like she don't know what's going on or what nobody talking about. And Nell is tired of that. Nell is like, I didn't appreciate her getting in Chris's face and pointing with that liquid courage finger that she has. And Nell said Tisha has crossed the line and she just went too far. And so Trisha is like, well, you gonna continue to build Black Girl Magic with us? I mean, we need you. And she said, yeah, I'll do it with you and Kimmy. And Trisha's like, no, Tisha's not like that. And then in her confessional, she says Tisha's delivery needs to pipe down before, both of our delivery go crazy. I'm like, you know what, Trisha, at this point, I want to see you fight somebody. I am so tired of you acting like you so big and bad and you got this temper, like you just will just turn into the Tasmanian devil, and people are supposed to be scared of you because you got a muscle. Oh, Trisha, shut up. Ain't nobody. What I mean, so you gotta tell us. Are you saying that Tisha's not like that, or she is? Because you're saying two things at once, honey. And so she said, Nell asked her, like, well, would you let Tisha do that to Ken? And Trisha's like, no. So Nell feels like she needs to set boundaries with Tisha. Trisha thinks that they just misunderstand each other and they need to have a heart to heart. So, of course, from there, we know that they're going to have a heart to heart or whatever you call that. I don't even think they were speaking from the heart. So, Jalen goes to visit Kimmy at her office, and Kimmy was saying, "Oh goodness, when Jalen comes by, this is uncommon. Something's up." Well, he accepted a great job. He got a great offer, and he counter offered for a job in Huntsville. So Kimmy is happy about that. He's in logistics still instead of going into IT like he wants. And that was the job in Colorado, but they wasn't paying like nothing. So he was like, And so having black on his resume helped him get this job. So she's happy about that. He tells her that, like, the conversation that he had with Maurice and Marceau left him believing that Maurice was deflecting. Kimmy and Marceau also agrees that Maurice deflects. Jalen feels like Maurice kind of mentored him and groomed him into becoming an adult instead of fathering him. But he admits that he doesn't really know what fatherhood looks like, so maybe that is what Maurice was doing, even though he was a little harder on him than Monster. Kimmy says Mo feels like it's paid off. Jalen admits that Maurice's tough love has paid off. And so it's like, okay, Jalen, so what are you saying, buddy? You just want him to treat you softer. You in your soft boy era, Jalen, and you want him to back off and just chill a little bit. Okay, let's work on that, Maurice. So Kimmy is glad Jalen will still be in Huntsville, and that's that on that. So Chris goes by to see Lance at his job. He owns a company, a construction site. And so Lance tells Chris like how tired he is and he would love for his mom to come stay with him. Now he didn't upped it to 3 days. Nell said 2 days. Lance is saying 2 to 3 days a week so he can get some sleep and he can perform at his job better. Chris says HELL no. I said, I'm about sick of Chris. And his daughter did her little series on YouTube about how he is. And it might, she has a point. We'll keep going. But I'm looking at Chris like, what do you mean? He was like, how would you feel if your woman was gone out of the house? Bruh, you've been with your wife for 30 years. You still tripping off her being out of the house? And it's not like she's out of the house. She's at y'all son's house helping him out with a newborn baby. This is what she does. She has had 3 children of her own. She owns a daycare. A daycare. So it's okay for her to support and take care of the community's children, but she can't grandmother her own grandchild, even for a couple of months until the baby gets older and sleeps through the night, and he's in need. Let's just say this woman is gone off, or wherever she is. I don't know where this girl is. Does she work a lot? Is she there and just wants him to step it up? Is this Lance's punishment? But nonetheless, how do you like Chris? How would you feel if your woman was out of the house? like she at her son's house taking care of her grandbaby, helping him run this his own business. I'm sure he got all that from y'all. You own your own business, Chris. Nell owns her own business. How can you even fix your mouth to say you are a grandfather and you won't even help your own kids with their baby? Oh, Chris, you are tripping. Nell, you do have a problem. So, and Lance, he just sits there and he listens to Chris. He don't show no emotion. He don't react. He just goes, yeah. Well, how about you feel if you're a woman? Oh, I understand. He is just so chill and so cool. But I really wonder, what is he really thinking? Chris says Lance has to hold himself accountable, and him and Nell need to set some boundaries. Oh gosh. Then they run a flashback to last season or two when they were having a family dinner and she going off on all the kids because the other son had just got out of jail, I think, and something about the dog. She had to pay for this dog to get out the vet, and it was all kinds of money. Okay, the flashback is Nell telling the kids, I want to set some boundaries. Don't call here unless it's a 911 emergency. It's always something with y'all, and y'all are setting us back. Okay. Chris wants the kids to tough it out. Chris says the whole family needs to figure this out. Yeah, Chris, because you're not leading correctly. I just think you telling your kid that no, his wife, your wife, his mother cannot come by for 2 or 3 nights to help him with this baby to get her into a toddler, an infant stage. Like she, so you want him to tough it out, take care of this baby, which is his. We understand that. But he's trying to work. He's not a bum. He's trying to work and run his own company on top of that. He's learning these entrepreneur skills from you guys, and you're going to leave him high and dry. He's having kids with his wife, not some old random. He ain't no bum. And you won't help him? Chris, you didn't have help when you got other children. You didn't have help. You didn't have your mom or your first wife's mom. You didn't have grandparents that helped you out with your kids when you trying to make a dollar, when you trying to establish yourself, when you're working, you got payroll and employees and all of this, and you don't feel like you can help him for a little while. The boundary should be for a little while. Your mom is in the business of daycare. Maybe, you know, 3 months free. And if you really still need me, baby son, I'm going to have to charge you. But even that doesn't sound, ugh, child. So, tough it out. Mm. I come from a family where people will help you when you're helping yourself. It's different when you ain't doing nothing. This man is running a whole business and he could go down and lose stuff and lose employees and lose money if he's tired. And yes, he should go get fixed. This should be 3 kids is enough. 3 kids is enough. Where is the baby at when you at work? I don't know. Maybe the baby, you know what it might be? Maybe the mother works at night. I figured it out. The baby mama, wife, whatever she is, she works nights. That's what it is. She works at night. Now you got this family, this young family having a family. They both working, and y'all don't think y'all should help? Nell, you was sitting in your office pretending to work when Tisha came by. You got the time. You don't need to be there. Your daughter is running that company. Come on now. Chris, you are tripping. Okay, so Chris tells Lance, I don't know, Chris, the more you talk, the more you just, ugh. So he tells Lance to go talk to Martell and ask him how is he balancing time management with these kids because he's a single father. He was like, I don't know, you might want to ask him something. He might know something I don't know, you know? And it's like, exactly. Girl. Whew. Okay, so Nell and Tisha meet for coffee. Okay, Tisha, what did you order again? A caramel maki what? A caramel maki what did you call it? Ah, a caramel macchiato. Tisha, macchiato. Macchiato. Like an automobile. Macchiato. Macchiato. So they meet for coffee. Nell just goes right into it. She tells Tisha, you got in my husband's face and you was on 100. Tisha is deflecting. Tisha says, I don't remember that. Okay, stop. If you don't remember, then that's when an apology comes in after that. Now, I don't remember that, but yeah, I'll apologize. I got a little rah-rah because, I was drinking. And I apologize. Was that so hard to say? But she says she remembers Marcel saying that they cleared it up. Okay. And she gonna say, but this is the second time Chris has brought up Marcel's name. Nell asks, well, when was the first time? And so Tisha's like, that drama that happened down in Atlanta. And then Nell is like, oh my God, there go Tisha talking about that again. It's like you asked her to. Nell, did you not just ask her when was the first time? You asked her. She's answering your question. All that old stupid drama happened in Atlanta. What's the story? Marceau and Chris met. They went to go look at commercial buildings. Chris asked Marceau to take a selfie to prove to Nell that he was with Marceau. Nell says that's not true. Chris went to the fish market, got me some food, brought it back to the room, and then I don't know what happened after that, but I did see him. Okay. Nell says Marceau brought up Chris's name first, and that's that on that. Tisha says she's not sure how all this started and says it don't matter after Nell was trying to explain that it did matter. So, of course, when two people cannot agree and there's no accountability and no apologies, they go back and forth and back again because Tisha feels like Nell is yelling. She was starting to get rah-rah. Tisha's like, baby, this is where I bring my the kids from the school. This is where I meet with the other parents. You're not going to embarrass me in here when I got to come up in here and be with the people. Okay? So she feels like Nell is amping up her voice, and she was. Nell was beginning to yell because she don't like Tisha. Tisha says, Nell feels like, no. Tisha says, you are yelling, and then Nell feels like, there she go again. She always want to play and act like she can't hear, and it's my fault, and she likes to make me feel like I'm crazy for thinking the way I'm thinking. And I'm like, ooh, now come on now, you giving Tisha a little too much credit. She's not that smart. But she feels like she's on what Tisha is on. But now Tisha is done because she feels like Nell is disrespecting her and yelling at her. So she says, call me back when you ready to talk. And she gets up and leaves. And that was the end of the episode, besties. Child, Love in Marriage Huntsville is taking a turn. I'm not mad at it. Just last week it was very boring. But it may be coming, we need some other stuff happening and yeah. But yeah. Okay, we'll give it a shot. I'm not mad at it this week. it was just funny to me how Marceau over there coaching Tisha on how to, how to argue with these women, and Tisha is not falling for the banana in the tailpipe, but at the same time, she's beginning to be an a-hole. The girl is sitting here telling you that you was hollering and screaming at her husband. I don't know why production didn't run the tape back, but then you're gonna sit here and say you don't remember, and you guys are seriously sitting up here defending two men who are your husbands. They ain't even mad at each other, but you guys are. Make it make sense. Well, besties, that was the end of the episode. We gotta wait for next week to see what happens, what's going down. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you thought about this week's episode. Ciao. Please like the video. Besties, you're watching. Please hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and make sure your notification bell is on so that you know each and every time I post my content. And I'll be back with another recap, besties. Have a good weekend. Bye, besties.